Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Al Rosen.
Welcome to our weekly meeting for CAD 116, Introduction to AutoCAD. Module 3 has been released. Al, do you want to walk them through this?
Certainly. Mod 3 is really neat. We have a video of Chapter 3 Modularity there in purple. If Joe clicks on it. And what is basically comes down to is a PowerPoint that we put together and a picture of all the stuff that we're doing, the videos, and step-by-step instructions how to use it.
So this is the key plate design, and then you can see some of our older videos here. Not that old. I think it was just last year.
Yeah, the spring.
So we'll go through some of the construction techniques. But as you recall, Al puts all the videos in purple on the home page. So that's color coded. And just a nice 12-minute lecture about the assigned readings. What's this step-by-step, Al?
That's another type of PowerPoint style. You can click on it real quick. It's a video type style PowerPoint, really neat. Hopefully it comes up. It's one of our earlier ones, but oh wow, oh, let's get there. It is. There it is. And it goes in through the 5 pictures that we have, modules of 3A. So that was easier for us to do at one point.
So this is a video on how to do the plate drawings.
And it's an older one, but works fantastic.
And as soon as my computer gets to the right. And these are not supposed to be super difficult. They're supposed to be relatively easy. And they focus on just basic draw and modify commands. All right. Back to the main splash page. And then it looks like we have one more video.
Right, but if you click on that one, it's a little bit different. If you click on it, I'll explain to you why. That's our older one, which goes the old first D2Ls onto it, and it goes through that. I thought it was really nice because it has number 1 onto it, and you can break it down, show them step by step. It has the PowerPoint built into it, ready to go. And we go back and forth, so it might be easier for some people to understand.
Great. So you've got 3 videos, and the videos all relate to the content that we've been covering over the last few weeks. This last one was a bit of a video lecture showing object snaps. And then your assignment for this week is to do these 5 drawing plates. If we take a look at the drawing plates, you can download the plate title block right here by clicking there and opening it.
Making sure you have AutoCAD open first, please.
And you'll get this blank title block. And then what you want to do is you want to enable the menu bar. I'll hide it, and then I'll show it. Check your grid and your snap by going to drafting settings and make sure that your snap is on and that your grid is on. Polar tracking should be enabled, and you don't need object snap for these. So I'm going to disable them because it's all grid and snap orientated. And then if we look at these assignments here, I've already done them. We start off with this one right here. And AutoCAD works kind of like Excel, where you can have these tabs down here at the bottom, and you can just continue to add tabs to it. The plate title block has 5 tabs, but if you wanted to make one with 10 tabs like I have here, all I've done is I've right-clicked on my tab and selected copy. And so if I go to the last plate here, and if I wanted one more plate, I could right-click on it, and I could say move or copy. And then what you do is you say create a copy. and then you say, okay, and it should move it to the end. It'll move it to the end, I believe, and I'll say, okay. And then I'll have an extra one, which is then going to be at the end of it right here, called version 2, and I can just erase the information on there and then start drawing the geometry. Again, check your drafting settings if you don't see it acquiring a snap. And then you can go through and you can create these general design drawings.
Hey, Joe,
Yeah,
how do you rename those extra tablets down the bottom tabs?
you right click on them
Ah,
and you select rename.
so they actually can put in which one each one is instead of showing it what it is. They can say their first initial, last initial, dash, whatever the plate number is, or drawing number, or however it is, and hit the button, save it, and keep on going, correct?
Right, so I could make this plate 11 if I wanted to.
Very
And I
nice.
could come up with a new design for that. So AutoCAD is really quite efficient. That's one of the reasons that everybody uses it. And, you know, there are more powerful programs. Autodesk has more powerful programs as well. But a good foundation in drafting is what Al and I want to have for this course. And so they're not super complicated. But again, you know, as you look at some of these designs, there's no reason that we couldn't use like a mirror command here, where I could take half of this out. I don't have to redraw the entire thing. And that's sort of what we want you to think about. You can go ahead and do something like mirroring this project about a center line. And now I've made my work much more efficient. And I can go through and finish these off. I can match properties. As you start to go and work with AutoCAD, we want you to just kind of pick up on a command or two every week, so that as you work with the CAD system, it becomes just like a language where you start to think in CAD and how you're going to create those different geometries. So our assignment is, here's our general design, and this is how we run the course. We have these general design assignments because AutoCAD and CAD is no longer just for engineers and manufacturers. People use it to make signs. They use it at the grocery store, you know, to do signage there. I know we were at Trader Joe's and somebody from our class was in there doing things with CAD. We have managers that will work with technical documents. So there's a number of things that people do with CAD other than just engineering work now. So we'll create these 5 plates. You have videos that will show you step by step, and then you'll choose either a mechanical drawing or an architectural drawing. And when you work with the architectural drawing, you need to use the architectural title block, because the architectural title block works in feet and inch units. So you'll notice that it's different. And then when I go through and I start creating my geometry on that, you'll notice that the measurements are in feet, 13 feet, 14 feet, 17 feet. And if I go through and I set up my grid and snap under drafting settings to be in inches for the snap, typically I like my snap to be half of my grid. Then when I draw, you'll see it will now go in feet and inches, 4 feet, 6 inches. And that's because the units are set differently. As we work with different drawings, we'll work with architectural units on the architectural and interior design programs. And we'll work in mechanical units or decimal units for the mechanical projects like this plate right here. The reading assignment, and as far as what you should be working on, Al does a great job of keeping everybody on task by putting things in the splash page and then by announcing the upcoming events. But if you go to the outline of topics located under content, this is what we guide ourselves with. And so if we look at the outline of topics, you can just go ahead and click on that. I think I've already downloaded it up here, so I'm just going to show it from there. And so today's the 16th, and we're talking about drawing and editing line standards. And so this would be the reading that you do independently for the course. And if I were to open my digital textbook and look at layer standards and line standards and layers, what we want to do is look at the basic line conventions and how CAD works with these drawing standards and how it's used in different fields. And the way they manage these standards is with these different line types and line conventions. It basically goes back to engineering graphics and these American Society of Mechanical Engineers, Y14.2, sets the standard for drawings. And so we want everybody's drawings to meet this criteria, which means that in the layer command manager, we'll set up visible lines as 0.6 millimeters, hidden lines as 0.3 millimeters, center lines as 0.3. And so when we look at our title blocks for these drawings, and I go to the layer properties, I can see that my object layer is set, and it's set at 0.5 millimeters. I think they updated it to 0.6. So I might just bump it up to 0.6 like that. You're not going to see a noticeable difference. And then here's my hidden lines. These are 0.3 millimeters for the line weight. Because as you make these drawings, your eye will catch the thicker line weights first. And you can kind of see that. Some little glitches that students will do is something like this, where they'll have the line for the endpoint to the center of a center mark. It really should be to the endpoint of the part. Just my little things that I try to get students to improve. And there's a little gap. You know, being a guy who grew up with drafting on a drafting table with a pencil, there's specific rules for that. And so I can kind of clean up some of these little details here. But you should be working with different layers for different line types and different drawing geometries. And so your dimension line should be on the dimension line layer. Your hidden line should be on the hidden line layer. And your object line should be on the object line layer. And by doing that, we can go through and do things like take off the dimensions, and we can take off the center lines, and then we can 3D print that and do a number of things. Back to the textbook. So as we look at these different standards, they're meant to communicate different engineering or drawing and drafting functions. And so things like motion, how you convey motion, will be used with a phantom line. And so you can see how this part actually moves. And like I said, AutoCAD uses this layering system, and most of your companies will have standards for people who work for them. And so if you're working in a mechanical field, they'll most likely have layers like these, where you have center lines, construction lines, dimension hidden, just like we have in the title block. And the same thing for architectural standards, where you'll have layers that are used for the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. You'll have layers for the walls. You'll have layers for a number of different things. And it just adds to the standardization to make things more efficient. The textbook goes through how to add layers, all the nuts and bolts of working with layers. You don't have to know everything about it, but the fundamentals. You want to work on the current layer. When the layer is current, it'll be at the top of the list here. When you're in the layer manager, it'll have a green check mark. We'll assign specific colors to the layers, because when we have 20 people working on 20 different drawings and we start to assemble them, we want all the colors to match. So we'll set layer standards for that. And it has a number of different colors. If you go into interior design fields, you can actually have them match to these paint color books. And then line types. Different line types mean different things. So hidden lines convey things that are behind other features. Object lines are in the front. Phantom lines convey motion in different positions. And their line weights then are set towards the standards for ASME Y14.2. They do some other neat things like set transparencies and things like that, but a good detailed drawing like this showing where these plants are located can be used for a number of different things. This one's here for a storm water pollution plant. So we've done CAD drawings for everybody from mechanical and architectural to the fire department, who has to have a plan where they know where the gas and electrical shutoffs are located. So CAD has a number of different ways that we can use it. You can also set layers as plotting and non-plotting, or turn them on and off to be able to manage your drawing projects. And it goes into a lot of things too that at a fundamental level, we don't need to go into all that aspects of it. We'll look at the design center in the future, but design center is just a content manager that'll allow you to take layers from other drawings, kind of allows you to borrow the content. So if somebody's already gone and set up 200 layers for a drawing, you don't have to go in and type every layer. You can drag and drop those layers into your current drawing using the design center feature. And then the chapter review. You'll see this kind of information on the midterm and on the final exam, where they'll have questions like this that'll ask you to identify the different components of a dimension line or a hatch pattern, or they'll ask you what type of lines are these, so that you understand the language of engineering graphics. So that's the reading. Again, the readings in the outline of topics will tell you every week where you should be working. Al, you have the quizzes released, is that right?
That is correct.
So you'll take the quizzes. We don't put a deadline on the quizzes, but you do need to get them all done to get the points. And so the quizzes are located under quizzes and exams, and we'll look at these as a student. And so Al's got 3 quizzes active for the students, and you can click on the quiz and take the quiz. Al, can you tell us about, is it an open book quiz? Can they take it more?
Open book, open note, open computer, however they like to do it. They have 4 best out of 4. So you get 4 chances to get the best score they can.
So we wish you luck on that, and they're designed so that you start to understand what we're looking for, how to set up the grid, how to set up the snap. So the quizzes will reinforce the outline of topics in the textbook. Okay, so lastly, we'll just take another look at the drawings. The drawings for this week are to do these 5 plate drawings, which we've already shown, and then a mechanical drawing or an architectural drawing. I have the mechanical drawing open. I'm not sure if I have the architectural one at this time. I'll take a quick look for it. But again, you know, it should be a nice clean drawing with dimensions, and you should have that within the title block. And so this is a 5-inch by 3-inch plate drawing with these 4 holes and this cutout in the center. And then if I look at the architectural drawing, no, that's not the right one. The key plate, I'll have to come back. Since we're live with a video, I'm not going to be able to find that at this time.
And Joe, do you want them to put the side view on for the key plate?
Let's put that as bonus because it is in the instructions. And I
Okay.
do get people that will ask that every semester. Yes, you know, ideally, we want you to be able to project the right side view with hidden lines and center lines.
Fantastic.
All right, so that's the assignments for this week. There's plenty of support material for that. Typically, assignments are due 2 weeks from when we assign them. So the module 3 assignments are due on September 24th. With that, I'm going to conclude our 10-minute Zoom video meeting. It's actually more like 15, but that seems to happen more often than not. Al, is there anything else that we need to add before I end this recording and open things up for questions?
No, not really. On the quizzes, might say exam or test. Those are quizzes. And then you can open a book and whatever else. Chapters are related to in our topics. So if it's chapter 3, if you Joe, go to content real quick to topics. And today is the 16th. It says mod 3 quiz. So if you look in the book, that's chapter 5, and anything inside there or in your computer or program or on internet, you can use.
So they're open book, open notes. We want you to do well with the quizzes because they're geared towards bigger tests, which will have a midterm in October, and then we'll have a final exam in December. And so a lot of the quizzes will relate to that. Alrighty then. With that, I'm going to stop the recording and we'll open things up for questions.
Fantastic.